Thank you so much. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Welcome to S2 Academy to our monthly webinar. Emmanuel, and I'll be your moderator for today. So, I just want to welcome each and every one of us again to this webinar, and I hope that we would leave this place equipped with greater knowledge and will be better individuals. So, just a bit of housekeeping, just to let us know if we could kindly keep our mics muted during the presentation, just so we don't have any interference. Feel free to turn on your videos if you want to. However, let's be aware this section is recorded and would be uploaded on YouTube. So if you're asking a question, um, giving a contribution, please let's be aware of that the session is recorded. If you have any questions, there'll be time to ask questions. Let's feel free to use the raise hand function in our I think you can see that on our screen just to have a bit of orderliness. But yes, let's feel free to put down our questions, and by the end of the session, we would give opportunity for everyone to ask the questions. So without much ado, we're going to move on to the speaker for today. Is ready to grace us with his presence and to teach us today. So I'm just going to tell us briefly about our speaker. So welcome to those that just joined us. Please let's be aware the session is recorded, and let's keep our mics muted, please. Thank you. So Dr. Chika Anigo is a public health physician and a senior lecturer with Bedfordshire University in the UK. He doubles as a medical advisor for Divine Oasis Foundation, which is a Nigerian-based charity that take care of widows and destitute children. His hobby includes running, playing table tennis, and reading. Let's show some love as we welcome our speaker, Dr. Chika, as he talks us through and teaches us on the power of mentorship. Like someone once said, mentorship is a brain to pick and ear to listen and a push in the right direction. So I'm sure we're ready to receive that push in the right direction. Let's make welcome our speaker, Dr. Chika, please. You have the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Emmanuel, for that elaborate introduction. And thank you, Dr. Carlo, for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here today. And thank you, everyone, for coming for this webinar. Looking at things and the topic, I was thinking through and wondering how to approach it. Because first of all, mentorship is a broad topic, very broad. And the power of mentorship also takes it to another dimension. And while I thought about it, I decided I was going to make it a bit more practical, so that we don't have, the load of theoretical things we've always known or read in books. But I'm going to approach it in a slightly different way. And I've come up with just a short outline that is going to guide us in the discussion. So we're going to be looking at what mentorship is not, first of all, because I know we need to go from the unknown and move towards the known. So we're going to be looking at what mentorship is not, then what mentorship is. And while we look at what mentorship is, I also like to sound the room to find out what we think about mentorship, or what we could call mentorship in one word. Then from there, we'll move on to the power of mentorship. And we'll look at how we can assess mentorship so that the mentorship process will be meaningful. We'll gain meaningfully from a mentorship process. And we'll also, I'll guide us to, Emma, the moderator, will guide us to do some self-assessment. And that will be it for from my end, and we'll go into questions and answers. So thank you very much again. So I'd like to start by saying that mentorship is not outsourcing your responsibilities. And mentorship is not delegating what you should do. So those words should be clear. You cannot outsource your responsibilities, and you can also not delegate what you should do. So what do I mean? It's important you know that everybody that would ever mentor you may be busy. And if you want people to pour into you, make sure that you're already digging a well where they will pour into. So there's some sort of responsibility attached to the process of mentorship. So it's not outsourcing your responsibility or delegating it. We're going to be hearing more. Then mentorship does not replace process. So that you want to get into the ladder of mentorship will not replace the process. And we know that process is a step-by-step way of getting things done. So you need to understand the ropes of anything. And it takes patience and endurance to be able to learn how things work. So mentorship will not replace process. It's also important to know that mentorship is not a silver bullet that can solve everything. So you have a part to play if mentorship must become meaningful and if you must gain meaningfully from mentorship. Then this is a very important one. You should also know that mentorship is different from coaching, because over the years, we have lumped the two together. So coaching simply means a structured, most times paid for training with clear responsibilities and an expected outcome. So you sign in for a coaching process. At the beginning of your signing, you and your coach both know what is expected of you and what you're meant to become after the coaching process. So it is not mentorship. And mentorship is also not networking. Though in the course of the mentorship process, you can also gain some networks. This is important because most times we think we are seeking mentorship, but we're actually seeking opportunities for access. And we mix the two together and it becomes conflict or conflicting. So, but when mentorship is properly done, eventually you will gain access, which is network and opportunities for greater networks. Okay? So those are the few things I was able to put down that mentorship is not. There are lots more, yeah, but I will stop here for that. I will move on to the second point because I would like to give a bit of time to our question and answer so that people can ask questions and we can deliberate and act and answer practical answers, to some of the questions that may come up. Okay, so what is mentorship? And before I continue with this part of the talk, what is mentorship? I would like to sound the room a bit. I don't know, Emma, whether you can help me. I would like all of us to drop something in the chat box. So what is mentorship in one word? Okay. I can see a guide. So what do you think mentorship is in one word? Guidance. Okay. Leading. Beautiful. Okay. Direction given. Okay. Okay. So we've had things like, okay, relationship. I love that. Support system. Powerful. Powerful. Stewardship. Not reinventing the wheel. Good. 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 Okay, so those are all very valid points we've all raised, summarizing mentorship in one word. So while I was thinking of how to summarize mentorship in one word, I came up with three words, four words to be precise. One, and the strongest, giving clarity. Beautiful, beautiful. So one, which is to me the strongest, is influence. So mentorship in one word means influence. And influence is a word that I have studied for a very long time because I know how powerful influence is. Do you know that you become whoever you associate with? When you hear things like evil companionship would corrupt good manners, don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly because you become whatever you associate with for a long time. So anything you give your attention to, you become. If you give your attention, if you're in the company of wise people, for instance, if there are 5 wise people here and you're in the company of them, I can assure you, give it time, you'll be the 6th wise person. If you find yourself around 5 people going in a particular direction, I can assure you, before you know it, you're going in that direction. So there's a lot of intentionality around influence. Influence is so powerful. And the interesting thing about influence is that it can go the negative or the positive direction. You become what you listen to, you become what you read, you become what you practice consistently. So whatever you want to become, you start giving your attention to it. Let me give us a funny story, just to buttress what I'm saying. During COVID-19, during COVID, when there was lockdown, interestingly, I got glued to the news, international news. And every evening I would watch the news, and I gave it a lot of time. And I don't know whether any other person has noticed that newscasters in the UK usually go clean bedded. Has anybody noticed that? They usually go clean bedded and it looks good on them. Yeah. So, and I gave it a lot of time every evening consistently for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Interestingly, I have never gone clean bedded. But you know that one particular day I woke up on a Sunday and I went clean bedded. I did it myself. And I realized that they had influenced me because they were looking good on clean beds. I realized it. It was a huge shock to me. And I went clean bedded. And that is how mentorship is. So another word that would go for mentorship is inspiration. Inspiration. So there are 3 words that we should never joke with. One is faith. The second one is hope. And the third one is charity. These 3 words are so powerful. And what I'm talking about lies within the domains of hope. Inspiration means someone getting you to do what you should do, not by force, but by influence. Because when you get people to do what they should do by force, you are now a dictator. They could do it in your presence. When you turn around, they stop doing it. But inspiration is connected to a positive influence. When you make people see for real who they are and what they can achieve, if they do the right things consistently, is a powerful word. Another word also is encouragement. It also goes hand in hand with inspiration. You will not know how powerful encouragement is until you're discouraged, until you're overwhelmed, and you don't know where to start from. Then you will see how powerful encouragement can be. And the last word, which is also very powerful, is value-driven relationship. Over the past few years, I've been studying relationship, and I've given it time, to understand how relationship works. I've read books, studied it, and I'm still studying it. And I can assure you that you can never go farther than your relationships in life. You can never go farther than your relationship. So, as a way of giving mentorship, small nuggets that would guide you to always remember. So, mentorship is the shortest pathway to greatness. The shortest pathway to greatness, if you're willing to put in the work. Meanwhile, you should know that mentorship is not the same thing with shortcut to success and can never replace process, like I said. But it is the shortest pathway to greatness if you're willing to put in the work. And mentorship can be structured, but it can also be unstructured. In fact, in my experience, one of the forms of mentorship that works best is the unstructured one. But we'll talk more about that. It could be indirectly, it can also be from afar. And like I said, is the shortest pathway to. Someone also raised a very, very powerful word. They said, you can't reinvent the wheel. Yeah, we'll come to that. So what mentors do? Mentors share their wisdom. They share their wisdom based on their professional or lived experiences. And mentors also, while the interest in sharing their wisdom is to help those around them shape their thinking. So for you to truly be following a mentor, that means you're already thinking. Because mentors help to shape your thinking. So you cannot be in a mentorship relationship if you're not thinking. So you have to be thinking for mentorship to be meaningful. So someone also mentioned that mentors improve clarity, which is very important. So that means you have to be thinking for you to for things to be made clearer to you. Interestingly, for instance, if you're not thinking of purpose and you're not confused, then you don't need mentorship. You're a freelancer. But if you're really thinking and you've come to the point where you need some clarity, then you're doing well already. And you are now qualified to come into the class of mentorship. So one of the strongest forces that can help you to climb the ladder of mentorship is desire, hunger. Hunger for something, desire to move up, desire to leave the status quo, desire to get things right, desire to get things done, desire to make progress, desire to move from one point A to a point B. If you don't have this, it becomes practically impossible for you to enjoy or gainfully benefit from mentorship. Okay, so I'm going to go through the third point on my guide, which is the power of mentorship. So why is mentorship powerful? Mentorship is powerful because nobody can figure out life. Interestingly, nobody can figure out life on his or her own. It doesn't happen like that. Most times I hear things like, I'm a self-made man. I can assure you that it does not exist. There's no self-made man. You're where you are today. You're where you are today because so many people have helped you. And the earlier you acknowledge that and start developing the proper, adequate skill and competencies needed to ask for help, the better for you. I didn't know that there was a skill to asking for help until I started growing. There's a skill to it. Because do you know, for instance, we hear things like, in the multitude of counsel, that wisdom is not lacking. This word I just said now can become greatness for one person, but can also become another person's downfall. Because if you don't know where you're going to or what you're looking for, everywhere becomes the road. So you should have an idea of what you're looking for, where you're going to, for you to be able to ask for help properly. So like I said, there's a skill and an intelligence to asking for help, because there's nothing like self-made man. And have it at the back of your mind that you can never figure it out all alone. Nobody has ever figured it out all alone. It is not a man to decide the course of his life. Nobody does that on his own. Is it that events of life? Is it that structured mentorship? Is that influence guides you over time to define your course in life? And you should be comfortable with it. One of the things it does to you is that it humbles you to know that men generally are limited. Because one of the, like we'll be looking at soon, one of the things that crashes mentorship is pride. Because the only currency with which you can plug into meaningful mentorship is humility. There's something called the learning gradient. Without the learning gradient, you won't be able to learn much. In basic mathematics, we are taught about gradient. You must develop that learning gradient to be able to learn meaningfully from a mentor, or to be able to absorb and influence a positive influence. We are taught to imitate those who through faith and enduring patience have gained it. That's what we're taught to do. And for you to imitate someone, you must look up to the person. We'll come to types of mentorship, but for you to imitate someone, you must be humble enough to look up to the person, no matter whether the person is lower than you in age, in cadre, in whatever. If that humility, because that's the currency with which you buy into the resource in mentorship. So if it's not there, you can't access the wealth or the power in mentorship. Okay, so that's why it is important, that's one of the powers of mentorship. You can't figure it out. Life can be complex and you cannot figure it out alone. Two Towards the last end of last year and into this year, I started doing a study on perspectives. I realized how much you can learn from listening to different people from different angles. Interestingly, I've been involved in things around diversity a lot. I've done works around diversity, cultural, ethnic diversities, where you have close to 30, 40 ethnicities. And I'm beginning to see the beauty of diversity and how culture shapes people's understanding and outlook to life, and how much you can learn by listening to people from different culture. And for you to learn, there must be that humility, which is the currency to buy into it. That is the only currency with which you can buy into it. Like I said, the strongest driving force is hunger and desire. But to buy it, you need humility. These things are intentional, they are practiced. It's not an endowment, they are practiced. People develop it. Nobody is born like that. We all came into this world with default. Our default. Like if you want to buy a new computer set, when you buy it, you have to, first of all, you ask for the specifications. You have to have an idea of the specifications you want, and you will order it. When you get it, then you will now sit down and upgrade it to what you want. It comes in with a default. So nobody achieves great destiny with default. Nobody achieves great destiny. You have to walk up to the specification if you want to do well. Same with looking for a job. You have to have an idea. And the only way to get an idea of the type of job you want to look out for is to download the job spec. And same with a future. You have to have an idea of the type of future you're looking at. And when you have that idea, you now start looking for people that have achieved the type of thing you're looking at achieving in the near future. And that's why I said that you have to be thinking. It cannot be outsourced. It cannot be delegated. There's a responsibility part of it. And I'm coming to that because that's where I would like to pitch for the evening before questions and answers come in. So the second thing that we need to know, which makes mentorship powerful, is that no matter where you are on earth, someone has walked that path before. No matter what you're desiring to do or where you are on earth, someone has walked that path before. But we know that there is nothing new under the sun. History merely repeats itself. And that's the truth. History merely repeats itself. There is nothing new under the sun. Whatever you're trying to do, someone has done it before. So like I said, it's the shortest path to greatness. Greatness. Mentorship is shortest path. So if you're wise, which I know you're wise, for you to be in this forum listening means you're wise. And you have a certain desire. The first thing is to start looking for the people that have done what you desire to do. And that's where the work comes in. That's where the responsibility of mentorship comes in. Because you need to seek before you can find. And what drives it is desire. Hunger for something will drive it. It's through desire that a man will separate himself. And it's only when you separate yourself and give yourself to wisdom that you can draw great depths. It's only when you separate yourself. And the only thing that drives you to do that is hunger. It's hunger for greatness, hunger for something more. Yes, before I continue, let me make this point. You see, everyone seated here is fashioned for greatness. I'm not a motivational speaker. What I'm saying is the fact. Everyone is fashioned to do great things. But the interesting thing is that it's not everyone that will do great things, because there's a price for greatness. And it's only those that are willing to go through the process and pay the price that will eventually get to that point of greatness. And that's how it works. It's not by wishful thinking. There are lots of things that people have thought about in the past. Let me use, for instance, the popular New Year resolution. Towards the end of the year, everybody will sit down and write down loads and loads of things they want to achieve. By the time you get to 5th month, 6th month, you're wondering whether you've gone half. But I hope you know there are certain people that hit everything they planned for and even complete it before. And that's it. Is that commitment. So, like I said, anywhere you want to be, someone has gone through that path. Your own responsibility is to find that person and engage. Okay, so the next one is there is a pattern and a model. There are tested principles that if you engage it, that's why mentorship is important and powerful. There are tested principles that if you engage consistently, your future becomes predictable. Your future will become clearly predictable. Things like principles of diligence, things like principles of hard work, principles of consistency, building systems around whatever you do. Things like principles of practice. I would usually say that it's not about practicing, but practicing the right thing, because you can practice the wrong thing for a very long time. So if you want to get into that principle of practice, the first thing is to discover the right things and give it quality attention and practice it over time. Then you move in from secured to advancing, then to mastery. And it's only through practice. For you to gain mastery, you must practice lawfully. And is a gentle, gradual process. Okay? So if there are principles, there are also people that have also obeyed those principles. And there are also people that have also obeyed patterns. So you find them and you use the currency of humility and buy into it. So those are the powers invested in mentorship. So you can't go far without giving yourself to these things. Okay, so I'll move on to, so there are ways you can assess this mentorship and enjoy it meaningfully. Okay. Like I said, no mentor will save you if you've not started saving yourself. No mentor will save you if you've not started saving yourself. Mentorship is not a single silver bullet. You have to be working on yourself. You have to be thinking on yourself. You have to be working actively on yourself. And before we get into assessing it, please, I'm going to quickly do something on the first point I want to say, which is knowing yourself. You see, I have realized that one of the greatest things you can ever do for yourself is to gain self-knowledge. It's called self-knowledge and self-awareness. Self-knowledge and self-awareness. And there are practical ways of gaining it. Look, but I'm going to give us time to see how much we know ourselves. So I'll give us time to, please, can you type 3 values that drive you? 3 values that drive you, and 3 things that you know about yourself. Did you get my 3 values that drive you and 3 things that you know about yourself? Because that's the starting point. if mentorship, family, excellence, and impact, powerful. You see, with these values now, when things come up, you now know which one to tackle first, and which one to tackle second, and which one to tackle third. These are things you need to sit down and think about and decide the values that you want to govern your life. Discover who you are by self-reflection. One of the greatest issues of this time that we live in, okay, passionate, ambitious, and committed. Thank you, Dr. Zinab. Powerful. One of the greatest things of this generation, greatest issues with this generation, is that we are fast interested in authenticity, creativity, and humanity. I love that. I love that. Powerful. I don't want to get into authenticity because authenticity alone will make you rich. A manager, a communicator. Powerful, powerful values. No matter how great you are, if you cannot communicate what you have in your mind, it becomes meaningless to anybody. No matter how great you are. So the first step is sitting down and discovering yourself again. Like I was saying, one of the greatest ails of the generation we live in is that the world has become so fast-paced that people don't think. People don't think. People are busy. They don't have time to reflect. They don't have time to think. Everybody is in a fast pace. And it's dangerous for this generation because you must sit down and reflect to get to know yourself. Ask yourself questions. Who am I? Reflect. And ask for feedbacks from trusted friends. Ask them, who do you think that am I? And that's why you need trusted family and friends, trusted friends. Ask them sincere questions. I'm telling you what I've done in the past. I've had to ask such questions. I've had to do deep reflection. Sit down and reflect. You know, in the United Kingdom, we know about structured reflection, which is powerful, where people sit down and think about an endeavor they have finished and come up with an action plan on how to improve such a thing, you know, if they have to do a similar project in the future. And with that, you have continuous improvement, where people keep improving, which is excellence. Continuous improvement, because you're reflecting, you're thinking, you're giving a thought to what you have done. Okay? I'm saying go-getter, perseverer, and a person, people-oriented person. Powerful. Powerful. Okay, so it's only when you have thoughts and you have an idea of who you are, which is self-knowledge, and you're self-aware. Self-aware is a bit different from self-knowledge. Self-awareness talks about you've understood your behavior. You've understood your thought pattern. You've understood who you are. Because these things are fabrics to who you will become and what you can do. And it also guides you on how to select and choose mentors. Because selecting mentorship is an intentional thing. It doesn't happen by accident. It's an intentional thing. Though influence is not an intentional thing. People are influenced by what they give their time, whether they give it consciously or non-consciously. They get influenced. Have you realized that if you keep listening to a music, whether you're intentionally listening to it, over time you see yourself singing the same music or muting it on your own? It happens. It happens a lot. So it's only when you have reflected and you become self-aware and you also gain some knowledge about yourself that you now begin to know, have an idea of what you want. Because when you don't know where you're going to, everywhere becomes the road. Like I was saying, in the multitude of counsel, wisdom is not lacking. This same thing can become someone's doom, but can also become someone's greatness. If you don't have an idea of what you want, multitude of counsels will confuse you. But when you have an idea of what you want already, your values are clear, or at least they are developing, and you now gain counsel. What you do with the multitude of them is that you take all of them to your room, to your planning board, keep them on your planning board, and now look at them carefully and see the ones that fit into your circumstance and the one that will benefit you. When you're talking to a mentor, you're saying things that will push the person to say more. I used to use this analogy a lot. Okay, so if you're driving and on the highway, your car breaks down. I'm using the developing world, for instance, and your car breaks down, and you step out of your car and stand by the roadside trying to wave down cars to help you. And the second person is driving, his car breaks down, and he steps out and he's doing something to fix his car. Who do you think people will stop to help? Who do you think people will stop to help? So the person that is already doing something. People will easily stop to help the person doing something. Yes, the fixer, because they're already doing something. Like I said, before people can pour into you, you must have a well, or you must have started digging a well, because people are busy. And before you can be saved by a mentor, you must have started saving yourself. Because there is nothing that pushes mentorship like the right questions, asking the right questions. And for you to be able to ask the right questions, you must have thought. Let me just share this little experience I had in my workplace. Okay, so one of the students that came to do a master's program, okay, she was really doing very well. And it was clear in her mind that she wanted a funded PhD. So we hosted a conference within the university, and I was the student liaison. So I anchored the conference. So in the course of working with students from different diversity across the world, you know how the UK is with students from different ethnic groups and diversity. So while I was preparing them, the students, and sharing roles and all, allocating roles to all of them, I gave them a similar thing I'm just about to say. I gave them samples of questions to ask. And I told them that what will promote you is when you ask intelligent questions. It shows that you're thinking, it shows that you're prepared, And I gave them sample questions based on the topic, based on the conference theme. Before we got into the team, some were acting as ushers, some were acting, different things. And when they got in and the lecture started happening, the first speaker came and gave his presentation, the second one came, giving, and all that and all that. And one of the ladies, just one lady, was bold enough to ask the question, the prototype question I gave them. And she asked it so intelligently. As soon as she asked that question, a professor with a strong funding was sitting in front of me. As soon as she asked the question, the professor just turned to me and said, "Chika, who is that girl? Her question is intelligent. Who taught her?" That was the lady's question. And I bought it from there and I pushed her case. And the rest is history. Today she's just about to complete. She's just about to complete. She has done her PhD P1. She's stepping into second year, fully funded. Fully funded. In fact, she came to give a talk in my class because she came to inspire other international students. So this is how it goes. You must be prepared for opportunities. And preparation is knowing how, what, and when. Asking the right questions. A question can change your life. And for that question to be right, you must have studied. So the right question is usually backed up with a background of study. So it's important. So by the time you have an idea of what you want, like I said, the lady was clear in her mind that she wanted a funded PhD. And today she got it. When you now have an idea, the next thing is to start identifying the skills needed to get there. Because it's when you now start thinking about the skills needed that you will now start looking out for people that have similar skills or people that have done what you desire to do. If you don't have those initial thoughts, it becomes difficult to connect with mentors. Even when you connect with them, it won't be meaningful. It will usually crash. You won't gain much from it. But when you're prepared, you gain. Then the next one is character. When we say some of these things, we don't understand how far-reaching they can be. I love sharing stories because I push it down. It helps me to push down my lessons. One of my friends, an academic person too, a medical doctor, applied for a funding. And interestingly, this funding runs into, okay, £3,000 times 3 years. That's like, okay, so this young man applied for a funding close to £3,000 times 3 is close to £100,000 funding for the PhD. And he got a reject email. Okay, so, and after 5 months, okay, when he got this reject email, he spoke with his mentor. And his mentor told him to write back to the funders and thank them profusely because he was called for the interview. He did the interview and thank them profusely and also request for feedback. Just something simple and straightforward. And he obeyed sheepishly in the midst of his, you know what it means to have written a long proposal and you're rejected. And he did that. 5 months later, he got another email. And in the email, they were asking him, are you still available? He said, why not? Like, he's still available. By the time he got there, he realized that the person they picked, by the time they started doing their DBS check, they realized that the young man they picked had some character-based issues. So someone that had gotten to that point, they discovered some character issues. And while in the interesting thing, because one of the professors in the team was now talking with him and told him that while they were going through the number of people that applied, that why they got back to him was because of his reply email and how he thanked them and requested for feedback. They said, wow, that this person must be someone who can work with. As simple as it sounds. So it is important to build character, things like honesty, integrity. And these things are simple. They sound simple, but they are strong. If you tell someone, I'm coming by this time, come by that time. If you tell someone, I'm going to do this, try and do it. If you cannot do it, reach back to the person and communicate. Say, I couldn't do it because of this, because of that, because of that. I will now do it then, or I may not be able to do it again. As simple as it is, if you practice it consistently, you will gain meaningfully. As simple as meeting deadlines can change your life. So these are some of the things that you need to discover about yourself and some of the skills that will make mentorship meaningful. your life. And while I was looking at this and preparing, a couple of things came to me. So there are different forms of mentorship. Can be formal and can be informal. Like I said, the informal one where you sat out the type of people or models or patterns or those that have gone ahead and done the type of things you want to do, and you start studying them from afar. It's powerful. I've done it before and I still do it. There are people's profile I go to read in Wikipedia. I've gone there, I search for people's CV. I have a lot of CVs. There are jobs that I print their specifications and keep it by my side. So if there are people that have gone far and have done some of the type of things you want to do, go and search them out. They can become your mentors, they can become your motivation, they can become your influencer. Start reading works, some of the things they have done. Make it a point of duty. And don't read their successes alone. Also read their failures and how they navigated it. Don't read their successes are very good, but managing failure is also a powerful skill. So from afar, someone can start mentoring you. So for the formal ones, for the formal mentorship, if it's a professional mentorship you're seeking, one of the things I have advised and talked a lot about is what we call informational interviews. I've used it and it works. Why it works is that, okay, let me talk a bit about what informational interview means. Informational interview means when you find out someone that is doing or has done what you want to start doing. You craft a good email, talk a bit about yourself in a humble way, and request to meet up. And when you're going for that interview, have a clear list of things you want to ask the person. I've done it severally and it works. Why it works is that while we have mentees and mentors, mentors also gain from the experience of mentorship. So it's not just the mentee that gains. Mentors also gain. There are benefits to mentors. And one of the benefits that mentors have is satisfaction. You see, when you don't transfer properly to people, you become lonely. Transgenerational transfer. When you don't have, you've not succeeded as a leader or thought leader in any field if you've not raised people. You've not succeeded. If your success is short-lived, then you've not done very well. And whoever at that level of life knows what I'm saying. People talk a lot about succession planning. People plan their succession so that they hand down properly. So that's what they gain. And whenever they see people that are interested and committed, they are happy because they are fulfilling that part of their life. At that level, what they are looking for is different. Some, they are trying to build legacy. And you don't build it in isolation. You build it in people, in systems and structures. So those are the benefits mentors gain. While you're thinking that you're gaining, they're also gaining. So, and that's why informational interviews would usually fly. And if you engage it properly, then you will gain meaningfully from it. So informal mentorship, there are several ways you can gain access. But one of the ways I also advise is volunteering. Every mentor that will mentor you or get into a structured mentorship process or system with you also has help. So when you bring value to the relationship, you will also be valued. But when you don't bring value to the relationship, your presence could be considered as noise. But when you bring contribution, that's value. You're considered as a contribution. You become resourceful, you're considered as a contribution. Okay, so my time is almost up and I'll start running up and I'll just talk about peer-to-peer mentorship. Like I said, if you must learn from your peer, you don't look, nobody learns from a colleague. You must develop that learning graduate to learn from your peer, and it's intentional. And there are lots of things you can learn from your peer. And the last one is reverse mentorship, where you learn from younger people. You know, reverse innovation is something that has been used everywhere. In fact, at the moment, the world is talking about reverse management system, where managers in big institutions learn from their workers, especially new, fresh intakes. It's called reverse management. And it happens in mentorship too, where you can learn from your subordinates. You can learn from your you can learn from people below you. You can learn from people below you. Okay, so that is my time is up, and I have tried to cover all the outlines I had penned down. And thank you again for having me.